kind of interesting to point out. So what is the use case of HEX, right? We have a lot of haters out here and people that like to brush things off if they don't understand it or they don't want to understand it, right? But really the use case of HEX is all of these things, right? It can do all of these things and actually more that's really not on here. It can be a store of value, right? So it's a digital certificate of deposit replacing the traditional financial system by getting rid of middlemen, the way crypto was intended to always do. And it's more attractive to hold than Bitcoin because you can actually earn interest on it by hodling, right? Like, wouldn't that be great if you could just lock your Bitcoin away for 5 years and earn interest in the process, right? Because then you wouldn't have to be shaken out by all the volatility that comes along with a maturing product. Now, speculation, which as we've made the case for is actually a use case, that's currently a use case and it will continue to be because HEX has what's called price positive game theory built in, and it creates this price positive feedback loop. But even without all that stuff, it's only on year 1, whereas Bitcoin has had 10 years. So there's a potential for many more multiples of price, whereas Bitcoin reaching the more mature stage that it's in, you'd be lucky to get a 2 to 5x in Bitcoin's price during this next bull run. People always talk about crazy numbers, but the bigger something gets, the more economic energy it takes to lift that price up. And so at this point, the institutions are the only ones left to pump the bags of Bitcoin, right? Because they're the only ones with the money to actually market Bitcoin and make the price go up. But I digress, right? HEX was based on the principle that number go up is really one of the only things that matters in cryptocurrency, right? And a lot of people that are in HEX that are okay with HEX are okay with admitting this to themselves. I think a lot of people out there like to cover up the fact that they're really in crypto for the gains with complexity. They like to cover up their greed with technical complexity so they don't feel as bad. But you don't have to feel bad about it, guys. Crypto is a positive sum game because it's wealth creation and it's making a pie bigger where there was no pie before, right? So number go up is one of the most important things in cryptocurrency, and it's what sparks adoption, right? Speculation drives adoption, and if we ever want mass adoption of cryptocurrency, we're going to have to get more people in by speculating that the price can go higher, right? And the game theory is also built in as well. So like I said earlier, things like how if, for example, more people are staking, you'll have a lower interest rate. Well, that's a good thing because that means more people have entered the system and it's being adopted. Whereas vice versa, if less people are involved, you'll get a higher interest rate, which will attract, theoretically, more people to get in for those high interest rates. So it creates this price positive feedback loop. Whether or not people are in or out, there's always an incentive for more people to get in. Now we have payments, which is kind of a use case. I almost didn't even mention it on here, but I figured it was worth mentioning. It's meh. It's not really worth talking about too much. A lot of crypto people think that payments have to come first. Really, I think payments are one of the last things that's going to come out of crypto, right? But if you want payments, we do have it right now on Ethereum, which is interoperable with any ERC20 coin. We have zksync.io, which does 2,000 transactions per second. And nobody cares yet, right? No one's using it for that right now. Now again, there's AML and KYC issues, which they're going to be big hurdles, right? Because at any point of sale, there's still whatever government or local jurisdiction you're in, you have to comply by those rules. And that kind of takes away from the decentralized and private self-sovereign aspect of cryptocurrency, if the government always has to know what you're doing. But I digress. Really, what HEX was created for, the use case, is not only store of value, but wealth generation. So it's storing value for the long term and creating passive wealth over time because you're earning interest while you have these coins locked up. Now, one of the really cool genius things about HEX is that unlike other staking coins, you get penalized if you pull it out early. So with other staking coins, I can unstake my coins whenever I want. And because I can do this, there's nothing stopping me from jumping ship and hopping over to the next thing and selling my coins whenever I want, which will sell the price down, right? So when you sell, the price goes down, obviously. In HEX, you're actually incentivized to hold for your full term because if you don't, you'll get penalized, and it can be a pretty big portion of your stack, if not all of it. And what's even more beautiful is that those penalties actually go get routed to stakers who are fulfilling their promises, right? But that's a little bit too in-depth for right now. And most importantly, there's no counterparty risk, right? So not only was HEX audited 3 times, and it kind of kicked off the whole auditing craze in DeFi, which is a good thing, right? Things should get audited. But it's been audited 3 times by 2 of the most reputable firms in the crypto space, Chain Security and Chain Code Labs, I believe. And not to mention, there's no admin keys. You're not handing your private keys over, and there's nobody that can change up the code on you, right? It truly is immutable. So a lot of other fake DeFi, or CeFi as it's kind of called, is really just reinventing the wheel here. We're giving our money back to different central parties and just having the same counterparty risk as if nothing's changed, right? They might not call themselves banks, but they're essentially just new money managers that can be hacked or take your money or, use it in the wrong way or sell your data. And the whole reason of crypto was that it was designed to remove middlemen. So HEX does this in a trustless, decentralized way. Now,